I figured since I've published 7 videos now, it was time to take the camera inward and talk about what we're all really here for. And that's me. Once upon a time, I had no idea what I was gonna do with myself. I was like, wow, I wanna do something important. I want a job I'm passionate about. It's like, needing purpose. As a kid, I'd always wanted to work with animals, but in my head and my little kid brain, there were 2 animal jobs, and that was be a marine biologist or 2, a veterinarian. And you need to be actually brilliant to pursue those fields. So very early on, I was like, no, thank you, those aren't for me. I had come to accept that work would be something that I would just do to pay the bills, and that soul-enriching fulfillment would be found in extracurriculars outside of work. So I went kind of bananas with those and found that I was still dying on the inside, and life still felt meaningless, but I was having fun, you know? Flash forward to 2017, me and my man friend finally moved into an apartment that would let us have dogs, and I was so excited, and Evan was super not. He was one of those cat people, you know, which is fine, but he was like a cat person, but also a cat person. Like if turning cats into people was a thing, they would all come out like Evan. So he was super not pumped about the idea of bringing a dog into the house. Coincidentally, the foster coordinator at my local animal shelter had just come back from the very first ever big dog foster apprenticeship in Austin and was pushing on social media for dog fosters. So I saw a post on my local shelter's Facebook page saying, come foster a dog for a day or a week or as long as you want. It's super flexible. And I was like, babe, we got it. We're gonna break you into dogs, and I'm gonna bring a dog here for a week, and then we'll bring him back to the shelter. We'll have done a super nice thing. You'll have gotten a little bit of hands-on experience with a big scary dog, and then we can do it again until you're super comfortable, and then we'll adopt when you're ready. And he was like, that's so great, meow. When I went to the shelter, and I met Sarah, the foster coordinator, and I was super excited, and I walked in, and I was like, hello, I'm Rachel. Might you have any golden retrievers for me to foster today? And she was like, no, I don't. Let me introduce you to Louie. Louie was a senior pit mix who had been at the shelter for a 1.5 years and was about as excited to meet me as I was to meet him. He wasn't interested in looking at me. He wouldn't engage with me. He was just kind of zoned out in his own little world. And I was like, great. A dud. Maybe I'll get a golden retriever next time. So we brought Louie the dud home to our apartment, where he proceeded to pass out in the kitchen and sleep for the next 24 hours. He woke up the next day an entirely different dog. He had this big, dumb smile that never left his face after that. It's literally in every single picture that I have of him. He was just a big, dumb, happy dog that loved people and couldn't get enough of us, which we would have never guessed based on that initial meeting at the shelter. And it's super, I feel so dumb that I didn't put it together before then, but of course he was shut down and not engaging. He'd been living in a kennel for a 1.5 years. He was depressed as heck. He was outgoing and affectionate and still the only dog to have ever spooned me in my sleep at night. He was house trained. He knew all of his basic commands. He had farts so bad that Evan had to wash his eyes out on not 1, but 2 occasions. He went over the entirety of my roller derby league and came to every practice. He became the unofficial team mascot and was adopted in 2.5 weeks because of foster care. I was obviously obsessed with him and almost adopted him a few times. I waffled back and forth on that because I loved him so much. But how could we not do that for another dog? Oh, side note, Evan was 1,000,000% on board with fostering dogs at this point. It took 1. sucker. Our current foster, he calls her Princess. And he talks in this voice. And he's serious. That's really cute. Anyways, so I went foster crazy. Met a lot of amazing dogs, found my passion, wasn't getting paid for it, was pretty shortly like, man, I love this so much, I wish I could get paid for it. And then a foster coordinator position opened up a little ways away, and I went bananas applying for it. I went so bananas applying for it, I made my first video in an attempt to woo the director, which worked, and it's all because of Louie. And Sarah for not giving me a golden retriever, because that would have been silly. He taught me that you absolutely cannot judge any shelter dog by their shelter presence. He gave me a love for bully breeds that was not there at all previously. And he taught me that shelters are full of incredible animals, many of which who don't get the same chance that Louie got, and that the most important thing we can do for them is to become fosters or work to expand foster programs. I don't know how to end this. I need to go to bed. Oh, it's the emergency line. If you foster, it's good. If you foster, maybe you'll meet a dog as cool as Louie. No, you won't. But maybe you'll meet some really cool dogs.